Okay, so we're going to do positive and negative integers. When you're adding and subtracting integers, you use the steps. 1, biggest integer wins a sign. And then step 2 is to do the math. So if you had -5 plus 15, we're going to do biggest integer wins a sign. So my answer is going to be positive. And then I have a positive and a negative. So I'm going to subtract the two integers. 15 minus 5 is 10. If I have -5 minus 15, biggest integer wins a sign, so my answer is negative, and then I'm going to circle these. Because they're the same, I'm going to add them together. So 15 plus 5 is 20. Now, it's the opposite when we're doing multiplication and division. We have something totally different that happens. If a negative person is having a conversation with a negative person, it's a positive experience. If a positive person and another positive person is having a conversation, they get a positive experience. If a positive and a negative, or a negative and a positive person have a conversation, it's a negative experience. So when you're adding and subtracting, you do biggest integer wins a sign, and then you circle what comes before, and that'll say whether you add these integers together, if what you circled are the same, or you subtract them, and that is if these, what comes before, if these signs are different, then you subtract the integers. For multiplication and division, 2 negatives make a positive, 2 positives make a positive, and a positive and a negative make a negative. Okay, for your algebra that we did today, you're having a few different types of problems. The first one is when you have just a normal problem like n over 3 minus 5 equals 0. So the first thing we're going to do is add 5 to both sides. And then this clears on this side. What's left is n over 3. And then 0 plus 5 is 5. Now we're going to do, they're dividing, so we multiply, and anything we do to one side, we do to the other. This clears it out, and what's left on this side is n, and then 5 times 3 is 15. So that's one type of problem that you had. Another type of problem that you had was 3p minus 2 equals negative 29. They're subtracting 2, so we add 2. Anything we do to one side, we do to the other. This cancels each other out. 3p is left on this side, and then negative 27 is left on this side. And I know that it's negative 27 because biggest integer wins a sign. My biggest integer is 29. I have a negative and a positive. So I subtract 29 minus 2 is 27. Now I have 3 together with p. They're multiplying, so I'm going to divide. Anything I do to one side, I do to the other. Now I'm dividing, so I have a negative and a positive, which means my answer is going to be negative. And 27 divided by 3 equals 9. Okay, now when it has a fraction, we're going to do r over 10 plus 4. So equals 5. First step is to add they're adding a 4, so we subtract it. Anything we do to one side, we do to the other. R over 10 is left on this side, and 1 is left on this side. They're dividing, so we multiply. Anything we do to one side, we do to the other. R equals 10. And then our last type of problem was the one I misspoke about. So k minus 10 over 2 equals negative 7. So we have to take this 2 and we have to put it up here, and then we have to put parentheses around the k minus 10. And then this is no longer there. It's up here because we're multiplying it out. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. Now we have to distribute this 2, so it becomes 2k minus 20 equals negative 14. So this 2 goes to here, makes it 2k, and then 2 times negative 10 is negative 20. And then negative 7 times 2, we're multiplying. We have a positive and a negative, so the answer is negative 14. They're subtracting 20, so I add 20. Anything I do to one side, I do to the other. We have a positive and a negative. Biggest integer wins the sign, so my answer is positive. What's left on this side is 2k. And then I have a positive and a negative, so I do 20 minus 14 is positive 6. Now I'm left with 2k plus 6. They're multiplying, so I divide. Anything I do to one side, I do to the other. This cancels each other out. What's left on this side is k, and then 6 divided by 2, and this is a positive and this is a positive, so it's positive 3.